defend those candidates, but you're right, people are already more willing to duke it out because they're already fighting about this, that, and the other thing.
Sense of culture already.
I'll be when it started.
Okay, yeah. We'll see if anyone pops in. And then too, before we would leave today, let's discuss if there's a use for the second meeting of the month, because sometimes you and I make that determination.
Do we have anybody
whether-
on Zoom?
No,
No,
Not yet.
but Zoom is on, so if they do call in, we'll
Oh, okay.
get them.
let's talk about that after. Because
Yeah. Okay. So today's the agenda review, one that we always have. So, and we were just talking about the number one.
Yes, we have a continuing resolution to support the name change.
Are the have you talked to anyone else from the rest of the board? Are they leaning towards changing, or where are they? Do you know?
I think the majority of the town board members, from what I've seen, are in support of the resolution.
Okay, I just wondered. I don't always like to ask people like, how do you feel? Because I feel like I don't want to try to influence them.
I think Dr. Stallman, Dr. Witt are both going to participate by Zoom again. Peter may be here, but he may be, of course, he was supposed to be here last time too.
Wasn't he sick or something, or
He was
is
in
it?
the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
He's got a good excuse.
and then Mr. Randolph, I think, is going to participate one way or the other. So, and then we had the resolution that's now attached to the agenda that came from the city. So,
Okay.
so that's that first resolution.
Yeah, or hearing. Oh, there's somebody who wandered around the building. Did we open this back door? Not that,
Let's go.
I was thinking about it when I came in. I was so excited to see people that I forgot all about it.
No, I don't think we did on Facebook.
Thank you so much. Right.
Thursday. Yeah, on Thursday, she's not here until noon.
No.
The last couple of days we've had the U.S. Census Bureau has been doing their training here.
Oh, okay.
And I wonder if maybe
He
he
looks
left
really
something.
Okay.
You know, like sometimes things get left behind or
And you want to go back and check?
Yeah.
My glasses.
maybe something like that.
I just don't want more people that we have to move.
I really like this.
Feel comfortable.
I don't think anyone else will join us today. Only maybe Jim watching. We had a meeting.
It's just the census, folks.
Okay.
We've had the census used in our building for what, 2 weeks now? 3 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah,
So,
two, I think now. I had a couple of days. I did trainings.
I don't know if they're going to be using this room or not, but I don't think we have
Not
too
right
long.
now.
So,
Explorers race.
so financial reports,
Yeah.
obviously that's standard. Budget authorizations.
Budget
There's
transfers.
nothing there.
There were only two small transfers.
All right, so Kate, why don't you talk about 165?
Okay, so closing the capital project for Woolhouse Rosier Water District Extension. So this goes back to just the cleanup of our financial system. And this project was created in May of 2018 for the extension 42. And at the time, we only had a little bit of cost. It was $1,440 investigating whether this was a feasible extension. And what we ultimately determined with the engineer and the attorney was that until the pump station was corrected issue, then we can't do this extension. So meanwhile, we had a transfer from Canandaigua Consolidated of $60,000 to fund this this project to start, and then it would get a bond, pay that back. But because it never moved forward, it was just sitting there with no activity at all. So when I worked with the auditors for 2019, they recommended that as of December 31st, 2019, we just go ahead and make that transfer back to Canandaigua Consolidated.
Of the 60?
Yes, the
Okay.
60. Because Canandaigua Consolidated is doing this big project, and really it could use that. And also there's no activity. There had been no activity in 2019 at all.
And that didn't require the board to approve that transfer?
Well, that's what this is
So-
having you acknowledge, would be actually to backdate it to December 31st, 2019. that what we'll do is we'll take the 60,000 back to Canandaigua Consolidated.
Wait, hang on a second. So the 60,000, that was actually a loan from Canandaigua Consolidated to the district, so
So-
that's just reversing that, so, but then this is the actual transfers, which.
And the
not-
reality is, we're not charging them any interest because they never spent the money.
Correct.
Right.
So the money is still, we still had it. We never incurred any expenses on it.
Yeah, it was just the 1,400 in attorney fees, and the auditors recommended that the consolidated district absorb that cost. It's
Because it was
very,
an
very low.
investigation of it,
Exactly.
they could expand.
Yep,
And
exactly.
it's
Already
hitting fund
both ways.
balance, and that's not the way we normally do it, but it's just hitting our fund balance directly. You see in that last.
And the reason for that is being that it's
Prior year.
2019. Exactly. If it were this year, we'd hit the expense.
Now, this isn't going away, it's coming back. Because the residents of this, the 5 or
District
6,
really
whatever
like
it
the
is,
water and,
they still want it, and we're all set to move forward with it, but after we do the water project. So we'll end up bringing a new resolution next year,
have it clean.
recreating it again, and then moving the money back over there.
We'll
again,
probably call
but
it
just
something
cleans it
else
up,
too,
so,
that's more
yeah.
in line with our new software. This was 249C, and now we're doing H27, H26.
Oh,
So when it comes back. So this is really only an accounting status resolution. It doesn't change the status of the district or anything, the movement ability to move forward. It only allows me to make an entry for
To
a
close out a
2019
capital
audit.
project, yeah.
Exactly, and return that money to the project.
Just real quick, speaking of capital projects, it's not, neither one of these are on the agenda, but there's 2 more capital projects that we're gonna have to address within the probably next month. Number 1 is the Kramer Road Water District, so that'll be a new water district that we'll be creating with the improvements that we're doing, the residents. We need to have a public hearing on that too, and bring the residents in to make sure that we give them a chance to be heard, but there's, I think, 4 or 5 residents that have requested water, and we're able to do it as part of this project that we're doing, but they'll have their own separate district, their own separate costs and everything.
And certain
else.
costs that, being for
Right.
expanding it, but not for the cost for the whole.
Correct, yeah. And it's not huge, it's a couple $100,000. It's, but still. And then the other one, and Kate and I still have to work through some details. The highway building. So keep in mind where the money came from. That's the easiest way I know how to explain this. So that's why I said to Terry the other day, and he was like, we financed $3.5 million.
Right.
We put $1 million of fund balance in, that's 5.5. Well, the project was like 5.7. So
We have
We're $200,000
$200,000 that we have to
upside
find.
down that we have to
Right.
find still. So we still have to think through that. And we'll be bringing that to you. So
So,
it was under budget, the 6 million, but we're still,
right. We
200,000, we got it.
never fully funded it.
Right.
That's really what happened. And
Right.
so that, the $200,000, are there any, not that you have to answer this today, but I'm just keeping in mind, are there any restricted reserves that this could apply to?
we're gonna look at everything.
Okay, thank you.
We're
Because
gonna
I
look
feel
at
like
everything.
that's the best place to drag it out from.
We're meeting on that this afternoon.
Perfect.
And that actually would be the last piece of cleaning up that
All
highway
of this?
project.
That'd be
We'd
great.
clean up the H fund totally, and then everything would be accurate and up to date. And we'll
Wow,
do the
and when,
projects we have.
now that you guys are controlling it from start to finish on all these other projects, we shouldn't have this kind of nasty little mess sitting inside.
Exactly.
So speaking of budgetary transfers, and capital and unassigned fund balance. So this is to officially, we've talked about this. This is for the big water project. We
Yeah.
talked and talked and talked, but this officially moves the $1 million out of Canandaigua Consolidated Fund Balance over to the water project. So
This
keep
is-
in mind, that's a $7.5 million water project.
Right.
Right? We're funding it through $3 million in a grant.
Yep.
$3.5 million bond is what we're anticipating, and $1 million in fund balance. That's where we're coming up with a $7.5 million
Wait,
And what we're
3 million,
grant.
3.5,
That's 6.5.
and 1. Okay.
This attachment is a fund balance report from Encode, and what we wanted to show you really is this beginning balance. So this is as of 8/11, so it's calculating our revenues and expenses that have been in 2020,
Mhm.
but this 2275 is the start fund balance for Canandaigua Consolidated.
Well, and Canandaigua Consolidated was one of the ones that was over the policy, right? But we knew it was over because we were saving up money. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, correct.
Okay.
And you'll see that actually when we talk about budget and stuff, that we're showing all of that.
Okay, and at some point, we do have to get back to really having a review of the fund balance, how they stand relative to our policy. You know what I mean? We are
Well,
kind
when
of
we do budget, we'll do it like we did before. and
only
then
once
all
a
the-
year?
Yeah, because that's when you know when it's a year. You know it when, really, you don't know it until the end of the year. So right now, what we're doing is, the new system actually tracks the fund balance for us, and we've been doing a ton of work. But you guys can look at that anytime. I mean, that's in the
Well,
reports.
my thought was, I thought there were a couple that weren't within the policy.
Let's wait and talk about
okay,
it in budget,
all right.
because every single district, all 30 funds, when we go through them, we'll look at fund balance. We'll
Yeah,
go through
so if we do that, I think at the same time, I think last year we weren't really prepared to do that because we weren't at the point where we were confident of every one.
Correct.
So I feel like we have to make sure that we have an action plan for anything that isn't in the, and it could, or an explanation. It could be,
I
you
think
know.
most of them at this point are
Are
actually
good.
in really good shape.
I think so too, from what I remember, but we haven't done it. Perfect, that'll be really good.
We actually match.
Yeah, so the spreadsheets that I give you guys every single year, there were some that we had to dig into to find, but most of them were within $1.
Oh, my,
Of Encode,
Oh,
yeah. So we're,
Lord. That's
we're in a great
wonderful.
spot. Yeah, really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, some of them was like, okay, spot on, we know we're good. That we applied for, and actually, the thing I was shocked about is the county applied for this too, and the county got 30-some thousand, and we got 50,000.
Wow. That's great.
And we will create, we do have still the capital project creation in there. So we will, just in case, the planning stage, we anticipate only being a few months, but the implementation could potentially go into next
For the
year.
next year, yeah.
And just in case, we wanted to just go ahead and have a project set up for it. And that, what that does is also allow us to track it in project accounting, rather than tucking it into the general fund, where
Yeah.
it might be harder to follow.
And
So-
it keeps it open over the years. right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So the next one here is surplusing highway equipment. So this is the old roll-off truck that we're selling. We got our new truck in finally. The new truck is the one that we leased. Roll-off trucks we tend to keep between, but we leased it and never, ever, ever, ever want to lease another vehicle with that particular organization again, because that was a pain. It was paperwork, I think 7 times in total.
Oh, my God.
The lender.
Yeah, anyway, so this gets rid of it. So anyway, the old one. And the old one, I think it's here or not, but I think it's a 2008. But
It was a planned
Yeah.
revenue
Oh, yeah,
source
it is.
as well. We had it. in our revenue.
Wells Curtis is about 0.
But we can say that. we
Yeah, I know.
probably-
I get it.
Yeah, we can request it.
It's just,
That's
if
interesting.
not road, people they treat it like a very quick cut through, so I
Mhm.
totally get it.
Like
Like
a
a
short
hill,
cut.
yeah.
That when people are walking along, I gotta go really slow for that.
Yeah.
so this next one is sidewalk easement in Fox Ridge. So when the planning board approved the subdivision for Fox Ridge 5B 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5B 2 is Lacrosse Circle. They required that the developer provide sidewalk easement on the one side of the road, and potentially would or may require the developer to install sidewalk at some point in the future as part of the next phase. This officially allows us to record the easement as the town of Canandaigua easement.
Who requires them? Like say
Planning
it's,
board.
oh, the planning board? And why wouldn't they have already done that?
Why
Just
wouldn't they
wondering.
have done what?
Required them to put in sidewalks at the beginning.
This is the begin. This is.
Oh, this is
5B2.
the, oh, this is very much the beginning of the street?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been.
Residents, even though they want the sidewalk and a safe place to walk, they're not willing to give the easement. So,
Yeah, so this one has the easement.
so
And
this
my
is
question is,
actually
why
us
not
just
tell the
recording.
developer, when you may build a place, you've got to put in a sidewalk?
So that's basically, so the developers, you know, in this particular case, the developer argues with the planning board a lot because of their complaint is there's no other sidewalks in this development, right? But this is the beginning of the road, like Lacrosse Circle. And so the planning board required the easement. So this is only, this easement goes across 3 lots. It's one side of the road. There's 6 houses in total and 5B1, 3 on each side of the road. And then you get into 5B2, I'm sorry. And then you get into 5B3. 5B3, the developer hasn't started any of that yet. And the developer doesn't have approval to move forward really with that yet. There's a variety of different things going on there. So the planning board is part of the condition of 5B3. I'm thinking what they're probably going to do is require them to actually install a sidewalk on the easement in 5B2 so that they do it all at once. But the developers hate doing sidewalks.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it's a source
Well,
of
it's an
controversy.
expensive amenity, but I think,
Everything. But what this does is officially allows us to record the easement. We have with Fox Ridge now, with that being in Venenzia, we have ongoing issues because things constantly change. And so we need to get this recorded
oh, okay.
so that
Yeah, and I think
the
it's
town
good
is
to,
at
yeah.
least protected because it just constantly changes. Anyway. And who knows if it'll actually even be built out like this, because now they're talking about making another change and they bought 2 more pieces of property over there and now they want to connect it. And so anyway,
Oh, boy.
yeah, it's anyway. So the next one here is accepting dedication of a portion of Lake Hill Drive, Lakeside Estates. This is for the actual, some of the stormwater and the, it's really mostly pertaining to the road. And when you get into the accepting portion of it here, sanitary sewer easement, water line easement, conservation easement,
And so,
stormwater drainage access.
so that
easement,
road,
survey.
if it needs to be resurfaced, the town's on the hook for it.
The town's already accepted the portion that would need to be resurfaced years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is just a small portion at the end. Close it up. This next one pertains to our water project. And truthfully, Kathy, you'll appreciate this. It's a bunch of attorney language and the resolution says absolutely nothing and doesn't do anything. But
Except
EFC wants it.
satisfy.
So we said
to
that
release
Jerry
our
can
money.
find nothing, right?
Yes. EFC wants it in order to start releasing money to us. So that's why we're doing it.
Okay.
But I read it and I'm like, it doesn't do anything. It just,
Right, it just tells you that all these things were done.
pretty much.
All right,
all it
well,
does.
we're acknowledging it's done and we're
Right.
gonna move forward.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Exactly.
all right. The next resolution, this, as we talked about the executive session last month, we're abolishing the
Position,
part-time,
Sherryberry.
correct, position.
How are
Um,
things?
Things are good. I've talked to the judges, and then we had our vote.
Oh, yeah.
Made it, got that final push.
Yep. The next
Oh,
resolution,
deal.
176, that's just the court audit.
Oh, yeah.
Kathy, they are asking you to sign off on that. So this actual, I added an extra, directs the town supervisor to execute the audit finding letter on behalf of the
Yeah,
town
they said
board.
they left something in my mailbox way back when, and I didn't have it.
There was, so he said that, he emailed it. It wasn't.
Ah,
He emailed it, and you and I both got a copy of it, but it was
Okay.
the same one that the judges,
yeah,
remember they wrote the note
Yeah.
on it and they wouldn't actually sign it.
right.
I was gonna say, did they sign
Okay.
it? That was my question.
No,
have
so
not
they
signed it.
actually, they want you to sign that same
Okay.
one, that, remember the one, but it was all
So I
just
have it in an
electronic.
email somewhere,
Yeah,
sent
but
from
we'll-
them.
We'll, it's attached to
Okay,
this.
I didn't
Because
know, I
what-
couldn't.
What
couldn't
Jean will
attach.
do, yeah, it's actually attached to this, what Jean will
Okay.
do is she'll put this in your to be signed book,
Okay,
and then.
because
see, it
I was
actually
looking,
has
like,
the
I
note.
don't.
No.
Right, where is it?
I mean, sometimes when I pick up my mail, I put it in here and then I find it out later, but
It was an email. It was an
Okay.
email.
I did sort of remember it, but I'm like, I don't remember. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Fire department. So this is actually a good news thing. We put in the 2020 budget a revenue source for this, and we knew we had to work through some things, but Jim and I met with the Cheshire Fire Department, and Cheshire Fire Department is spending a lot of money right now on service and on fuel. And what they do for the trucks across the street here is they actually have to drive these trucks down through Cheshire and fill them up down at the Cheshire Fire Department, and they're paying almost full retail for the fuel. What we'll be able to do is actually sell them fuel through our new iCloud fuel system. They can drive across the street, be a lot more convenient for them. Plus, it'll be a revenue source for us because we actually are marking up the sale of fuel that we're going to sell to them in the agreement. So we make a little extra on it also. And it's
How-
still
Ah,
well
Still
below,
saving.
What
well
rules?
below.
Oh, really? So what rules govern what price we can charge? Are there any?
So, yeah,
rules?
there's an agreement, the actual agreement that's attached, I think we actually spelled out a percentage above
It's really gonna be almost no cost to us other than the cost of.
20
fuel.
cents per gallon is our administrative cost.
Okay.
So, and that's still a significant savings for them.
And how will they pay us? How will we bill them?
So what-
Monthly
through
or-
the system, through the iCloud system, so they instantly get in a email. It's all electronic.
Okay,
They instantly will get, hey, this is what happened.
so then pay us.
Yeah, and then what we're gonna do is to
That's
write
how that
30 days
determination.
net with 1% penalty. That's all spelled out in there. and everything.
Okay.
But then one of the things we do have to do is we have to figure out how we're gonna account for that in our charging and stuff. But we do
Right,
monthly
how are we gonna
chargebacks.
track it? And will we create a receivable? You know, if we will, every time one of those is sent, essentially, we have a receivable, correct?
Correct,
And then we have to match them when they come in and everything like that. So,
but we do that now.
okay, great.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
already have that process in place.
Perfect.
And,
So then the other thing is, that we're looking to do with them as part of this is some of the routine maintenance stuff for
Oh, really?
some of
Some of
their
the
work,
repairs,
some of
huh?
the repair work. And now that we have a full-time mechanic who's doing a great job, and I know he's been spending a lot of time working on lawnmowers this year, but so we'll be able to get into some of that too, and that helps them out too. When obviously, anytime we can help them save a little bit,
And
of money, that
leverage our
helps us
resources,
too,
yeah.
also because of them. By the way, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's been some articles in the newspaper about the city of Canandaigua fire and everything.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So regardless of the article, right, we have a multi-year contract in place with the city of Canandaigua. So we actually, you're going to see this at budget time because we actually increased the fund balance in our fire protection district because they didn't get paid as much
Right.
based on the contract, right? And they're still under contract for next year for 21 to meet the minimum staffing, or it's another financial penalty. So
Mhm.
that's all still in place. So what the city manager tells me is they're making every move to meet the contract. They understand they need to meet the contract, regardless of what they're saying.
So because we budgeted a certain amount this year and then we didn't pay that amount because they weren't at the staffing level.
Yep.
Is our plan then to try to absorb that with using fund balance next year to create the
We'll talk
amount
about
that
it
we
when we
talked
look at the
about?
budget.
Okay.
Something to look
So-
forward to.
There are so many
Gotta
things
be
to
some
look for.
suspense for you.
You're right in line with that budget this week.
All right, so the next resolution is the draft NRI update and seeker intent to declare lead agency. So that's the NRI from the open space, actually officially adopting that, the natural resource management. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that's the public hearing for next month, and so we can adopt that and go through that more. Then this next resolution, Kathy, I know you and I were go back, but I think part of the issue here too is Pam's still getting up to speed and understanding some of the differences.
No, I know that, and I felt bad because that's like the blind being blind, and I think we have to do a
Yeah.
resolution on it, but I'm not the one to ask, so.
Yeah, so, yes. So
I
this
should have
is the
blind being
resolution.
smart, I'm the blind, he's smart, you need to ask.
So, we've had a ongoing lawsuit with Finger Lakes Railway for a couple of years now. It's multi-towns, and so this just updates the agreement.
And what's the gist of the lawsuit?
Finger Lakes Railway, it was contesting the assessment.
Oh, right, I didn't know that from the county.
So actually, you're gonna see, there were actually two lawsuits. The other one was Empire Gas Line, that's now been essentially settled. And you're gonna see when we talk about budget, the impact of when we lose that much assessed value. We've got one district where the tax rate's going up 8 cents because of that loss in assessed value from that lawsuit. Mhm.
If they don't pay it, somebody else has to.
Well, and that's that's where I go every time I hear about pilots, because every time some big business doesn't pay for something with a pilot, the rest of the poor little suckers have to, and I'm one of those poor little suckers.
Yeah. So, this next resolution 180 is updating the employee agreement with the union. What this does is this memorializes
The gold plan
change for the gold plan.
Yeah.
We had not done that previously, so we're going back and getting that.
Right.
And how are people doing about it? Are you upset about it?
Nope, everybody's good. We've got,
6 of us
6 that
stayed
are,
on it.
you know,
because
everything
we
is.
absorbed the cost. Yeah, it's
I'm
worth
glad you could keep it. so.
I'm glad you offered it to keep. 'cause
Yeah,
it's
you
a
know,
great
it just
plan.
felt like I think one of the people is Jean, and
Yeah.
at one point she expressed her concern about it because she felt she really needed it. So I'm just glad that they could let us operate, even if, and I think it goes to a more fair way where when we think of employees, we think of here's a fee, here's a bunch of money that we are gonna throw at your benefits. Here, you guys decide how you want to use this. You know what I mean? Don't let us tell you. And so I always think we went to that kind of cafeteria plan at Kodak and a long time ago. And it wasn't exactly like, I always felt like I'm a single person or, maybe a married person, but I didn't have 5 children. So, when they're paying the full shop for somebody with 5 kids, and for me, it felt like I wasn't getting the same level of service. I don't know. So I always try to make it more fair from my experience.
It was much appreciated.
I'm glad it worked.
So this next one, so interesting little story here real quick about this resolution. This is trying to support the situation. Creekview Apartments, 3 phases of that are assistance, I would say generally. One phase is market rate, and it's based on a program offered through Housing and Community Renewal, HCR. And what happened is HCR changed the rules. Shocker, right?
Okay.
So they did phase one, and they got the money and everything, and everything was able to go through, and they basically, it's not really grant money, it's loans that are it's almost like bonding, and there's credits involved and all kinds of different stuff. It's this complicated thing, but it all exists under this HCR program, and specifically it's number 3 under the HCR program, where they list out the different funding alternatives. So HCR changed the rules that says now that they're basing it on certain census tracts, and HCR is trying to encourage these assistance type facilities in more affluent areas, but they're doing it based on census tract. Okay, so the census tract where this housing development is located no longer qualifies because the income's not high enough. Like County Road 16 qualifies. And that's what they're doing. That's essentially what they're doing. So DeMarco still needs to build 2 more phases, and they had submitted an application for phase 2 for the next phase back in March, and they heard in April that they didn't qualify, and then the new guidelines just came out and the rules have changed. And so now what they're doing is they're going to try to apply under a different program that's not the original program that they were doing. And so this resolution just kind of offers its support for the application. They're looking for essentially letters of support. They have to explain how this is a benefit, offering this type of assisted, essentially what it is, it's assisted living. For instance, a family, I just met with John DeMarco and with Greg Furster, a family 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment there, high efficiency apartment. Some of the folks are only paying $900 a month. It's not free by any means, but
But for that amount of space and everything, that's a relatively good amount.
Anywhere else in Canada,
Versus-
they pay $2,000.
oh, easy. 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment at Center Point is $2,200 a month. It's yeah.
And mortgage rates are like 0. So that's why the housing market's so hot.
Yeah. So this offers, it's essentially just a resolution in support of the application.
So I guess what is the funding though? It's not real clear. Is seeking outside funding.
Yeah, so
Not
it's
sort of nebulous.
it's through these credits, and it's hard to explain it, but it's through these credits. It's not through the town. It's the HCR program. We don't have any financial involvement in this at all, other than our whole agreement pertaining to the installation of the water that we did out there on County Road 10. But it's through these credits, and so it kind of just details that, and that's why it doesn't give you a lot of detail in terms of the funding source.
So if DeMarco doesn't get the credits,
They're not building it,
they're gonna just keep it with phase 1 for now.
probably, unless the and maybe for good, which would really be a shame. I've had conversations with John DeMarco. I'm like, I get that, you either have to try to get under this other program, or potentially look for some other source, or what other option. I said, what's the chance of you building market rate? Just market rate out there. He said, we can't make it work without a sizable pilot. I'm like, well, I don't know, what in the world we can do with that. Now, pilots get a bad name. What I will tell you, and I just went through every single line on the pilots that we do have. DePaul Trolley Station and Veterans, the pilots that we get for the town of Canandaigua, they end up paying more than what they would based on the normal tax rate. And that was part of the agreement when we did those two, Liberty Apartments and DePaul Trolley Station Apartments. There's others that exist that doesn't happen. But in order to do a pilot, the school district also has to be on board in the county, obviously. And the school
Yeah, my
district
thought
the
is
most
he's
difficult
not
one.
looking for that kind of pilot. If he can't do it without, like, can't do it without a significant pilot,
Well,
then he's probably looking for.
So I had a conversation with him about that, and really what they're looking for is the stability essentially getting in that they can basically capitalize the investment over a 10 or a 20-year period, that they know that, okay, here's what it's going to be, and then here's where the return on the investment is going to come, you know, at year 8 or year 10 or 12 or whatever it is.
Do
But
pilots go with the property or do pilots go with the owner?
they go with the property.
Yeah, and see, that's what I don't like. What happens is they get a nice stable rate, then they sell it for a lot more, which should have adjusted our tax rate, and it doesn't ever go there.
Correct. So hopefully we don't have to go that road. Hopefully they can get in this way. And then
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I hate to cover this, but I don't know what construction rates, lending rates are, but why do they, with them being so low,
Why can't they get the money?
Why
Because
can't-
the credits are free money, really, essentially. They're a way for them to get,
Yeah, the numbers don't work for the project.
I
Because
think
they don't, it's not. the
it's based
credit-
on them
So
getting
since-
free money.
essentially, it's free,
Essentially, or it doesn't work.
but it's a loan, they still have to pay it back? Or
No,
this is a
they get
grant?
credits and things, so I think
Correct.
it is a loan per se, but then with all the other sweeteners, there's inflows that wouldn't be in a conventional loan.
Right.
From whatever program they're under. And, I mean, they are building nice quality units for people, it's great.
Well, and they're energy efficient.
Yeah,
units,
yeah, yeah,
And
so
they
that-
need all kinds of additional NYSERDA credits and.
And I remember their
all kinds of
presentation,
credits.
they've done a good job, so New York State really likes when they do it, because they do a good job. But-
Lenny Cicery with HCR, he's the main guy that's actually done all the work with us with called Charlie Station, with this project, with even Happiness House and everything. He had actually encouraged them to submit back in March under the old program, and he was going to try to ram it through. And it didn't get approved.
For phase
So
two,
it's just. So if it doesn't get, I mean, quite honestly, if it doesn't get approved, it's probably going to sit there vacant for a long, long time. Just Mark will just walk away from it. So, especially after the hell the county put them through with sewer. The county made them spend $1 million on a sewer pump station to meet all 4 phases and construct it in phase 1 at county sewer specifications. They did all that. County made them turn it over to the county. They did all that. They turned it over to the county. Then the county came back to them and said, I'm sorry, it's not good enough. We want more. And then made them, or wants them to replace that sewer line that has been there for a long time. That's completely the county's responsibility. And I mean, they just can't, I mean, you know, a business isn't going to invest and lose money.
It's true, very true. All right, where is,
And then we
Where's the
get into
Lakeside
letters of
Estates?
credits.
what's the Lakeside Estates? Which one is that one again?
Barrow Contracting, Lake Hill Drive.
Oh, Lake Hill, okay.
So they're done. They're done. They're out of it.
Oh, and they're
They
gonna get their,
sold the rest of the property off to Dixon Schwabel,
yeah, to one their big,
the son.
nice
The
place.
son. Yeah, the son.
Yeah, we're gonna build a one house development.
That's great for the environment.
And then the surety's there.
That's it.
That's good.
All right, so next Thursday, are we having a meeting? Do we have a topic? What would be a good,
We need a budget workshop.
okay, you want to do it next Thursday?
Well, we need to talk to the whole board, but potentially, and then we may have that one, we gotta go back and talk about that budget for the water project.
Just, you know, I'll be out of town, trying to get away, we're going, we're
Next
renting a
week?
home in the middle of nowhere in Vermont.
So then maybe.
22nd
next
to
week's
the
not
20th.
Right. But maybe we can talk about that on Monday, what works for everybody. for
All
a
right,
budget
yeah,
workshop.
And I can be
Because we
available
definitely-
by Zoom.
Because the
Okay.
issue with Jared is gonna be, he's gonna end up being back kind of teaching, I would assume at some point, whether it be remote or, and then I think he's a lot less free, so we can do our budget workshop before he goes back.
Like I said, I'd be willing to do it by Zoom if you guys, that week, maybe.
So here's the
I know.
thing about the budget. So, you know, I always submit the budget to you guys by Labor Day. So it's still, the books will be printed sometime around Labor Day and you'll actually have the books after Labor Day. But I've got it together enough that we can go through all the numbers and
Yeah.
everything. We can do that, you know, ahead of time and stuff.
Okay,
You guys
so
can-
Monday we'll discuss it, and you leave when? The
The
20th?
22nd,
So that's
So
the
week after
Saturday.
this.
The week,
Oh, Saturday.
yeah, the
Oh,
Saturday
okay,
after
so
the town board meeting,
correct.
Oh, okay, because next Thursday would still be okay then,
the 20th.
because we have used this meeting in the past occasionally for that,
Mhm.
so.
We're supposed to go to North Carolina, but the thing happened.
Oh, yeah, don't go there. Let's not see.
We're gonna be as safe as possible, but we went to go, my daughter had a physical, and I was talking to the doctor. My daughter was present, she said, she made you look like the most reckless person in the world, and you know how careful
Yeah,
I've
you've
been.
been so
She's
careful.
like, you're her mother, you're not her friend. I'm like, okay.
Oh, because your daughter wanted to go to South
Well,
Carolina?
our friends own a house.
Oh, okay,
On the water, so it was just gonna be us and them. And
Yeah.
he's a retired firefighter, 9/11, so
Yeah.
he's got lung problems. They're really careful. I told
and
her
the
all this.
people
in
were,
a-
and the doctor was freaking out that you were gonna be with another family?
I said, we're gonna bring our own food. We're not gonna eat out. We're gonna, no. So
Wow.
my daughter was like, wow, she talked you right off the, yeah. So
Yeah, I
wasn't
seen-
sure about it, but that
There's
was-
a continuum of people, like, there are some people who are like, hey, no, everything's
you gotta live
fine.
your life if you're
Right.
careful, which is what I try to live by that rule, is you be as careful as you can. You gotta
Yeah.
live your life. You pick and choose what.
Well,
you're-
and if you know that other people are really careful and you're really careful, I feel a lot better about it, like,
I
you
was
know.
packing little packets. I said this to, on the way down, we have to go to the
Right.
bathroom, you'd have like a mask and gloves and no. But she was a new pediatrician.
Oh.
So my other pediatrician, who she's had since we moved here, he knows me. and
Right.
When we first walked in, I said, I had on like the N95 mask, because we're in a doctor's
Right,
office.
right,
They're
yeah.
not the real ones, but you know, they're the more than this.
Yeah.
I said, we don't usually wear these, but I think she thought I meant we don't usually wear masks.
So
So we started off,
I know
you know,
very
like
bad,
a
yeah.
crazy, you know, right wing, you know, mask conspirator. Hopefully we're not still recording. Motion to adjourn.
Maybe we should,
Adjourn.